This is a cleanup commentary video on this animation made for Loopdeloop. Times broken down here. Adding the synced drawing layer from the rough animation here and going in with the pencil tool that has a texture on it. That line underneath the camera, really important to make sure all the lines are nice and connected. Using a lot of the selection tool and the contour editor to make sure that the main first key pose is sorted, then going pose to pose is bringing in and copying and pasting over some of the lines already made, but also hand drawing with a almost 60 average pen settings and highlighting and grabbing it using the contour editor points and making sure they are looking good, getting the main key poses down and looking good first, and then choosing a frame that is quite similar to what was just finished and grabbing, copying and pasting pieces, having a look at the rough animation and adjusting things as you go as well. Using the contour editor, there is a button on it that is a way to have an area around to then select many points and resize and change and rotate. That was used often to manipulate lines and make them clean and resize them very quickly, and a lot of adjusting ability, which is really helpful in cleanup. Now the onion skin helping to put a drawing halfway, and even at this stage looking at the animation and adjusting it from the roughs to further improve the animation and the flow of it by going back and forth often. Also techniques of not closing lines or trimming away excess lines too soon, when it is much easier to be able to select and move things around a lot more freely. When inking, it is definitely a balance between staying on model but also trusting the roughs and getting across movement of these poses. So flicking back and forth is really important. There was an experiment with a kind of line to maybe be a duplicate smear, but eventually it doesn't feel right, so it being removed. Towards the end here, tackling the second half of the animation and choosing pose to pose, particularly to then have the onion skin really help out. Making sure the lines under the camera go past the line, so they're going to be nice and easily closed. Here is the cutter tool pass, just going through each frame and slicing, and then going back and adjusting and making sure it is played often. And this whole section of inking, it did take 102 minutes, so about an hour 40, and this process being very sped up here, and for a total of 11 drawings. This is now a 10-minute pass of closing gaps. There were a few gaps that needed to be closed, and it's just much easier to do this in one pass, trying to make sure the lines aren't getting majorly moved, but with the magnet tool snapping on, the contour editor is snapping all of these bits and just going to be making sure that the coloring is going to be really quick. Here was the coloring, and that was about another 10-13 minutes. It was plussing colors and then also painting them in, using some applied all frames on and off, the paint unpainted tool being helpful. I was using a picture to color pick, and I did tweak the colors a lot afterwards, but I knew that they were all nice and clean and colored. Here is some background and polish, some compositing with some lighting here. It does take a little bit of time to experiment with the look that kind of looks good or feels good and makes sense. Some adding of some kind of noise and texture, playing around with the shading and the highlight with nodes. And a recap here of 2.5 hours for 11 drawings cleaned up for this final animation.